distributed system. In the previous video, we have seen about the introduction to distributed system and its advantages and limitations. In this video, we are going to see about the logical clock and Jumper clock. So, when we deal with the distributed system, we say there are three clocks. First one is the physical clock, second is logical clock, and the third is the global clock. In this video, we are going to see the logical clock. Let's take an example. Suppose in an organization there are three systems. P1, P2, P3 are three systems. Each system has its individual clock. Let's take the time of corresponding system as 12:10, 12:8, and 12:12. When we deal with this system individually, there is no problem. And even in distributed systems, since the time is very less, of about 2 minutes, we cannot say it is not valid. It is valid. But if the time of this clock reaches to 20, then there is a huge difference between the time of the two systems. Now, while synchronizing the system in a distributed manner, there will be a problem. So in the logical clock, we deal with the relation known as happened before relation. So what is the happened before relation? As the name suggests that an event is happened before another event. Let's say there is a process P. This process can have more than one event. Let's say A and B are two events of this process. Now two conditions can arise. The first is A and B are the same event, are the events of the same process P1, and the second condition could be there are two processes P1 and P2, and A and B are the corresponding events. Now A has sent a message to B, so we can say the timestamp of the A event and the timestamp of the B event can be determined by the logical clocks. So what is the time? We can say that C of A is less than C of B in this case, since it is seen directly because A has happened before B. In this case, since using this diagram, we can say that the A is sending message to B, so the clock of CA should be less than CB. This is known as happened before relationship. That is, A has happened before B. If there are more than two processes, for example A, B, C, D, then based on the timestamp of individual event, we can say that if C of A is less than C of B is less than C of C is less than C of D, then A has happened before B, B has happened before C, and C has happened before D. So now the three terminologies can be derived from happened before relationship. The first one is a transitive relation. As the name suggests, if there are three events such that A has happened before B and B has happened before C, then we can say that A has happened before C. Second is the causally ordering events. What it says that if A has happened before B, then A causally affects B. Whatever the changes in A, it will be affected to be B. And the concurrent events. How to prove that two events are concurrent is, if neither A has happened before B and not B has happened before A, then we say that the events are concurrent, that they happen simultaneously in the same event. So now let's see what is a space-time diagram. So basically a space-time diagram is a diagram that represents the processes and the corresponding events on a graph. For example, if we take space on y-axis and time on x-axis, and there are two processes P1 and P2. Here E1, E2, E3, these are the corresponding events. We number, how we do numbering is E1, that is the first one is for the process and the second one is for the event. E1, 2, the process of first process and second event. First process, third event. Similarly, second process, first event. second process, second event. And these E11 and E21 are the internal events. They are not passing any messages. And E12 is passing a message to E23, and similarly E22 is passing a message to E31. So basically, space-time diagram represents how the message passing and how the internal events are managed in a distributed system. So basically, what the logic blocks are used is for the global ordering of events among the distributed process. Now let us see Lampert clock. So what is a Lampert clock? Lampert clock is basically a scalar logical clock. What are the conditions that are needed for Lampert clock are? Do you see the two cases? The first case is there are two events A and B corresponding to a single process P. And in the second case, there are two processes P1 and P2, and an event from process P1A is sending a message to a process P2 to an event B. Now let's look for the case 1. If H is an event that has happened before an B, then the condition that is needed to satisfy is C1 of A should be less than C1 of B. And the second case, if A is sending a message to B, then also the C1 of A should be less than C2 of B in that case. Now there are certain implementation rules for the Lampert clock. We'll see there are two rules. We'll see one by one. The first rule for the successive event is that when there is successive event, for example in this case, when we move from one event to other, the clock is implemented by 1. Listen, the clock is implemented by 1. So if the clock here is 2, then when we move from A to B, the clock is implemented by 1. That is 2 plus 1 is 3. And the second case, when a message is sent from a process and the corresponding time from that process is Cn to another event, then we implement the clock by maximum of Ci followed Dn plus 1. I will give it by an example. For example, there is a certain process Bn also. Let's name it as P. Now, by reaching the event B, we can reach by A or P. Let the time from A be 5 and the time from P be 3. Now, what time should event B should execute? We'll see the maximum of 5 and 3. The maximum of 5 and 3 is 5 and we implemented by 1. So 5 plus 1 is 6. Now let's scale our example to certain figure. Consider this case. There are two processes P1 and P2 and there are certain events E11, E12, E13, E14 and E21, E22 and so on. Now the time step of E11 is 1. Then we move from E1 there is only one path. So we implement 1 by 1 using the rule 1. Since this is a successive event, so 1 plus 1 is 2. Similarly, here is minus 1. Now, when we have to reach to E22, there are two paths. First part is we can reach to E12 or we can reach to E21. Now we will see the maximum of the time. Here the time is 2 and here the time is 1. So the maximum of 2 and 1 is 2. We will implement this by 1. So the time here is 3. Now for E13 there is only a single path. Here the time is 2. We will implement it by 1. So here it is 3. Similarly, we have used these two implementation rules and perform the time stepping of each of the events. This is the Lampert clock, but there are certain limitations of the Lampert clock too, so that vector clock came into existence. Now let's see the limitation of the Lampert. Consider this case. There are three processes P1, P2 and P3 and these are the corresponding events. Even though we can see that the timestamp of E11 is 1 and E32 is 2. That is, timestamp of E11 is less than E32. But since there is no connection between E11 and E32, we cannot say there is a partially affected relationship or partially ordered relationship between these two events. This problem is solved by the vector clock. So friends, this is all about Lampert clock. If you have any queries or you want us to shoot any videos for you, you can go to our Facebook page you can write in the comment box, or you can even mail us to geekreplicated@gmail.com. So this was Ayush signing off. Thank you, and till the next program.